Hey, today we are here with Melanie Johnston, and she's going to tell us about her experience as a music educator. So go ahead.
All right, this school year coming up will be my 21st year teaching. I've taught band, I've taught choir, I've taught general music, I've taught orchestra. I've kind of bounced around everywhere from elementary to middle school. This next year will be the first year I will be starting high school. One of the big things I noticed throughout my career is as popular culture changes, music education needs to change. Mm-hmm. So many new forms of technology have come through in the past 20 years. And now there's things like DJing and mixing and being an influencer that weren't even in existence when I went into college, but are now very important to students. So I feel like a lot of times the traditional ensembles, the band, the choir, the orchestra meet some of the students' needs, but we're still leaving out a big portion of students who would like to be involved musically, that play guitar or bass or drums or sing, or want to completely do only electronic music or mix other pre-recorded musics together. And all those are completely valid ways of making music, but not included in the traditional music education curriculum. So that's something that I struggle with as a music educator, is trying to engage those students. Mm-hmm. So I try to have a lot of no-fail music activities to bring in those students, and just constantly be searching for music that they like that's school appropriate, which is also difficult to get that buy-in, because every student's musical to some degree. So it's just frustrating that I feel like we leave a lot of students out with that traditional model of 2 or 3 years of lessons on an instrument to master it enough to play in a big group. So I feel like if we don't evolve, then our numbers are going to drop. So that's just a frustration of mine.
Have you found any ways to kind of go against that and maybe incorporate some of those students? And what ways have you done that so far?
The ways that I've done that is I use a lot of like music looping and sequencing programs. Like there's this app called Incredibox that my students really, really like, which is a looping program so that they can compose. There's some really neat Google programs, and just reminding them you don't have to sit with a pencil and paper and write out old school notation to make music. If you and your friends are jamming and grooving together, you're making music. And here by ASU, there's a wonderful professor that gives a lot of summer workshops kind of along that line. And then the more I get into ORF training, the more I realize that that's an open-ended music making tool as awesome. Well.
Yeah,
the students may be like, oh, xylophones and fingers. Just wait. It's looping, guys. I'm telling you, it's looping. Just listen to it. We're laying down the first loop and then the second and the third. So just trying to tie in already existing things to terms that they recognize. And then doing a lot of like musicology type stuff, like, well, what's your favorite song? Why do you like it? What are the music elements that draw you to this?
That's awesome too, to use what you're already teaching, but just again make it in their terms that they understand and are interested in.
Yeah, because I know if I just start out, straight Mozart and classical composers, I'm going to lose them. So I always start with songs that are familiar to them, and we pull concepts out. And then as they get more, that they trust me more, then I add those classical pieces in.
They're like, okay, we think she understands us, so we'll listen to her Mozart.
Right.
That's awesome. That's a really good way to do those things. So where are you teaching now?
I'm going to be teaching at a charter school this next year called Skyline, which is on the Phoenix-Tempe border. and they have actually 3 separate schools within their campus. So they have a preschool, kindergarten in one building, an elementary in a second building, and then a middle school, high school in the third building.
Awesome. And you said you'll be
all of those, all those guys will rotate to me.
Awesome. Well, that will be cool to see all of those ages.
Yes.
Very fun. So is this a new position for you then this year?
Yeah, this is a new position for me this year, and they've never had music at the school, so we're just gonna start.
Oh, that will be great for them.
From scratch, yeah.
Starting from scratch. That should be really fun. I hope it goes well for you.
Me too. It'll be a lot of work, but at least they're on a modified calendar, so I only have to teach Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. Friday will be my planning day, which will be awesome.
That's kind of nice to have a full day.
Differentiate a lot. Yes.
Yes. That's really nice. Have one full day with planning.
Yes.
That's awesome. So one of my questions is, what inspires you as a music educator and keeps you going?
Well, I always try to think that I want my students to have the tools to be lifelong consumers of music, intelligent consumers of music, because everyone at some point is going to listen to music. So I always try to make sure that they have a basic understanding of the building blocks of music. So whatever they choose to listen to, they can evaluate.
That's awesome.
And then I also make sure that they can keep like the beat versus the rhythm, so that if they want to dance at a wedding or just dance period for their own enjoyment, they're able to switch back and forth from beat and rhythm. So I always want to make sure that they have some basic music skills that they can use for the rest of their life, because a lot of them, once they're past 5th grade, they're not interested in being in a music class anymore. So I want to make sure that they understand, beat versus rhythm and pitch and the scale and dynamics and just some basic music terms.
Yeah, that's awesome.
And then I always make sure that they're able to do quarter note, quarter rest, paired 8th note for reading notation.
Awesome. Those are great skills that I think they all need, and it's good to have them, those baseline for them. So even if they don't choose to continue, they can still utilize those skills in their daily life.
Right, absolutely. And then the ones that do want to go on are ready to jump in. Yeah.
That's awesome. Do you have any advice or encouragement for future music educators?
To always be asking their students what they're listening to, and keep an open mind, and not just be like, oh, that's garbage, that's just top 40. So just to keep an open mind, I'm constantly asking them, all right, what are you listening to? What's drawing you in right now? And then I'll listen to as much of it as I can. Some of it, of course, I straight up don't like or is not appropriate for school, but just to remember to learn from your students too. Yes. Once you're out, because there's no way that you can have your finger on everything that's new, especially now that we've got all of these social media platforms that you can release music on, rather than just the standard commercial release or play on the radio.
Yes, I've noticed that too with my students. There's a ton of different things they're listening to, but it's good to stay informed and know that. So that's great advice. Do you have any tips that helped you kind of get where you are and be successful in your career?
Just having that open communication with students, not feeling like I always 100% have to be in control. If there's a day where they're off and something happened, just taking the time to talk to them and say, well, what are you needing? Do you need to calm down today? Should we listen to some calming music? Are you sad? Do you need to process? Let's listen to something sad. Or do we want to flip completely and get energized? Yeah. So just using music as a tool to either help them process whatever mood or emotion they're going through, or completely flip it and change it. Especially with the little ones, sometimes they just need to get up and move, and we need to just dance and be silly. And then other times with the older ones, if they're just not feeling it, to just honor that. Just be ready to teach the concepts you need to, but maybe with a different piece of music or a little bit different approach.
Yes, that's awesome. I love that. And since you just got a new job, do you have any interview tips for new music teachers looking for jobs?
Visualize your perfect situation, and then really think about what are your minimums, things that you have to have to be comfortable in the position, and definitely verbalize those. Like, I've been on a cart before and I don't want to be on a cart again. So having my own dedicated classroom was one of my like non-negotiables. So just really think about your non-negotiables, which are different for everybody, whether it be schedule or physical room layout. And definitely don't let them push you on that.
That's really,
it's gonna be your environment that you're in. And I've also worked like on a stage with like pocket doors where there's just no quiet all day long. So I'm on a stage again, but it's with a real partitioned wall, which makes a huge difference. So a lot of these new schools, they're not building traditional music rooms anymore. So you have to be careful if you're being crammed into just a normal classroom, especially if you're doing band. That's going to be very, very loud because it's going to be the lower ceilings. So just really think about your ears and your voice and your comfort and the students' comfort when you're looking at the potential facility.
Yes, that's definitely great advice. And especially to think of your non-negotiables, like what am I I need to have
not comfortable doing. If you're like, kindergarten is a nightmare for me, I absolutely don't want to do kindergarten, I don't want to do the little ones, then you need to be firm in that.
Yes. Yeah.
Because a lot of positions, they ask a lot of music teachers. They want you to do basically everything, and they have to realize that that's actually 3 or 4 people's jobs. Usually you have a choir specialist and a band specialist, but they're just looking at the numbers. Well, why can't you do everything? Aren't you a music teacher? Yes, but not every musician can play every instrument.
Exactly.
So definitely being upfront with, here's my skill set. I'm weak at this. I'm great at this. Like I told my new school, I said, hey, I'm not the best piano player. So it's either going to be, like lead sheet chords, or if you want a better accompaniment, we're going to have to get a backing track.
Yeah. Well, that's good. You were upfront, about that, and they know, so it's not, up in the air when you get there.
And don't feel like it's a failing. I mean, I'm a clarinet player, so I'm a woodwind specialist, and just definitely be upfront about what you can and can't do, so you don't get yourself in a situation that's not good for you.
Definitely. I think that's perfect advice for new teachers and other teachers, any teacher. So that's great. And then kind of my last question is, what was one of your favorite memories or experiences as a music educator?
When I was teaching the beginning groups, when the light bulb finally went on and they could play hot cross buns, and they made the connection with the notation, and then they were able to just take off, and some of them just went through that band book like within a week or two. Just that when they finally make the connection of the notation to their instrument, and just that amazing experience of taking a student from, okay, we got to open our case on the floor, here's how we put it together, to that first concert. It's just an incredible journey.
Yes. I think especially with those beginning students, you can really see their growth, like by that first concert, by that last concert of the year with them. And it's so rewarding.
Yes. So those are my favorite memories, having a student that came to me the first day that didn't even know how to put the instrument together. Here by the end of end of the year, we're playing recognizable melodies.
Yes, that's amazing. Well, anything else you want to talk about today?
No, not really.
Okay. Well, I really appreciate all your time today and your advice and your experiences. So thank you so much.
All right, good luck on your project.
Thank you. Bye.
Thanks.